The night was heavy with rain, and the small village of Nyama lay shrouded in mist. Lanterns flickered dimly against the cold wind, and the only sound that dared to break the silence was the whisper of gossip from behind closed doors. They were talking about Amina, the woman no man could satisfy. Her beauty was not the soft, fragile kind. It was a storm, fierce, unpredictable, and mesmerizing. Eyes as dark as a moonless night, lips that curved like sin itself, and a voice that could charm the venom from a snake. But it wasn't her beauty that haunted men. It was the mystery surrounding her. Amina had been married 5 times. Each husband, strong and proud when he first took her hand, ended up broken. Some vanished without a trace. Others left the village muttering prayers and refusing to speak her name. The elders called her cursed. The women whispered she was possessed by a spirit. But Amina only smiled when her 5th husband disappeared on a full moon night, leaving behind only his sandals by the river. The village could no longer hold its silence. The chief ordered a gathering. Men came with torches. Women clutched their children. Amina stood in the center of the square, calm as a queen, the rain gleaming on her copper skin. "Where are they, Amina?" the chief demanded. 5 men, gone without a word. "What have you done to them?" Her gaze swept over the crowd, stopping on no one, and yet piercing everyone. "You think I killed them," she said softly. "But perhaps they found something they were not ready to face." The murmurs grew louder. Someone shouted, "Witch!" Another threw a stone, which rolled harmlessly to her feet. Amina didn't flinch. She simply turned and began walking toward the forest. No one dared follow. No one except Ibrahim, a quiet blacksmith who had once loved her from afar. That night, while the rain still fell, Ibrahim followed her footsteps into the woods. The deeper he went, the stranger the forest became. The trees twisted like they were whispering secrets. The air grew thick, and faint blue lights shimmered between the branches. Then, through the veil of fog, he saw her. Amina stood by a small pond, her reflection trembling in the water like a shadow come alive. The ground around her glowed faintly, symbols drawn in the mud with something that shimmered like silver. She was speaking softly, not to herself, but to the water. "I warned them," she whispered. "They wanted what they could not keep." Suddenly, the surface of the pond rippled, and faces began to emerge. 5 men, their eyes empty yet peaceful. Ibrahim gasped, stepping back, his breath caught in his throat. Amina turned slowly toward him, and in her eyes he saw both sorrow and power, a depth that no mortal should possess. "You shouldn't have come here, Ibrahim," she said gently. "The truth has a price." "I need to know," he said, his voice trembling. "What are you?" Amina smiled faintly. "Once, I was just like you. But love turned me into something else." She raised her hand, and the pond shimmered. The men's faces sank back beneath the water, vanishing into stillness. "They didn't die," she said. "They belong to the river now. It protects me, because long ago I gave it my soul in exchange for freedom." Ibrahim stared at her, horror and fascination warring within him. Freedom from what? Her eyes glistened with pain. "From a man who tried to own me. The first. My true husband. The one who thought love was control. I ran into the forest that night, and the river heard my cry. It promised power if I surrendered everything that made me human." The wind howled through the trees as the rain turned to mist. Ibrahim took a hesitant step forward. "Then let me help you. Amina, you can't live like this, half woman, half." She raised her hand, stopping him. "Half cursed," she finished softly. "No, Ibrahim, half divine." A strange silence fell between them. The mist began to coil around his feet, warm and glowing. She reached out, her touch cold as moonlight. "You came here because you don't fear me," she said. "But tell me, Ibrahim, do you love me enough to pay the same price?" Before he could answer, the water in the pond began to stir violently. A voice, deep, ancient, and echoing, rose from its depths, calling her name. Amina turned sharply, her expression shifting from calm to dread. "No," she whispered. "Not now." The ground trembled. The symbols she had drawn blazed with light. Ibrahim grabbed her arm. What's happening? The river, she gasped. It's angry. It wants another soul. And before Ibrahim could move, something broke through the water. A figure, tall and shadowed, its face rippling like liquid. It reached for Amina. She screamed, not in fear, but defiance. You will not take him. With a wave of her hand, the forest erupted in light, blinding, silver, pure. Ibrahim was thrown backward, landing hard against the roots of an ancient tree. When he looked up, Amina was gone. Only the pond remained calm and silent, reflecting the moon. He stumbled forward, calling her name. Amina! No answer, only the whisper of the river. But then, just as he turned to leave, he saw it. Her reflection, smiling faintly in the water, though she was nowhere to be seen. And the whisper came again, soft and haunting. I told you, Ibrahim, the river never lets go. The next morning, the villagers found him standing by the water's edge, eyes distant, lips murmuring her name. He never spoke again, but every night, when the moon rose full and the river shimmered silver, those who dared to listen swore they could hear two voices, one human, one eternal, singing to each other from beneath the surface. But the story did not end there. For months later, strange things began to happen around the village of Niamey. The river, once calm and quiet, started to swell under moonlight, even when there was no rain. Fishermen refused to go near it, claiming they heard laughter beneath the surface, the voice of a woman, beautiful and terrifying. Crops grew taller but withered overnight, and the animals refused to drink from the stream that flowed from the cursed pond. Yet amidst the fear, one person was drawn to it. Layla, a young healer who had been a child when Amina vanished. She had always felt a pull toward the river, as though it whispered secrets meant only for her. Her dreams were filled with flashes of a woman's face, eyes glowing like fireflies, voice calling her name. One evening, as the sky burned with sunset, Layla gathered her courage and walked to the riverbank. The villagers warned her not to go, but something in her heart urged her forward. The air felt thick, humming with energy. The surface of the water shimmered in colors that shouldn't exist, hues of silver, violet, and deep blue. Layla knelt and dipped her fingers into the water. It was warm, almost pulsing like a heartbeat. Amina, she whispered. The water rippled, and for a fleeting moment, a reflection appeared. Amina's face, older now, ethereal, eyes filled with something deeper than sorrow. You hear me, the reflection said softly. Layla froze, her breath trembling. You're real. I am what remains, Amina replied. And what comes next depends on you. Layla's pulse quickened. What do you mean? Why me? Because Amina's voice echoed, layered and haunting. You are my blood. The world tilted beneath Layla. That's not possible. Your mother was my sister, Amina said. When I gave myself to the river, it marked every woman in my line. It waits, Layla. It wants another keeper. Layla stood abruptly, shaking her head. No, I'm not. I can't be part of this. You already are, came the whisper. Have you not wondered why you dream of me? Why the river calls to you in your sleep? Layla's knees weakened. She remembered the night she'd woken drenched in sweat, hearing a woman humming from afar. She'd thought it was her imagination. Now she wasn't so sure. The water stirred again. This time, Amina's reflection extended a hand. The surface rippled outward, and droplets lifted, hanging in the air like tiny stars. The river is hungry, Layla, Amina said softly. It needs balance. It needs a voice to guide it. Refuse, and it will take what it wants. Layla's heart pounded. And if I accept, then you will wield its power. You will become what I am, guardian and prisoner. The words hung heavy in the air. The night deepened, and mist rose from the water like ghostly fingers. Layla backed away slowly, but the ground felt soft, almost breathing beneath her feet. I don't want this, she whispered. I just want to live. Amina's eyes filled with a sadness that pierced the night. So did I. The reflection began to fade, but before it vanished, Amina said one last thing, her voice both warning and plea. Find Ibrahim's forge. What was taken from me is still there. It will choose whether this curse ends or begins again. Layla ran all the way back to the village, her heart thundering louder than the drums of an approaching storm. When she reached her small hut, she found her grandmother waiting by the fire, her face pale. "You went to the river," the old woman said, her voice trembling. Layla froze. "You knew?" The grandmother looked into the flames. "We all knew, child. Amina's story didn't end in the river. Part of her power lived on. It was bound, hidden in Ibrahim's forge after the night she vanished. He knew something had to be sealed away, or the river would consume us all." "What is it?" Layla asked. The old woman hesitated, her eyes darkening with memory. "A blade, not forged by man, but by the river itself. They say it can sever any bond, even that between spirit and water." Layla's breath caught. "Then maybe it can free her." Her grandmother's hand shot out, gripping her wrist. "Or curse you in her place. Remember, child, the river never gives without taking something in return." But Layla's mind was already made up. That night, when the moon climbed high, she went to the old forge at the edge of the village. It was abandoned, buried under ivy and dust, the air inside heavy with rust and forgotten heat. Cobwebs hung like thin veils, and the smell of iron lingered. She found the anvil cracked, the bellows torn. But under the ashes of the old furnace, she saw something glimmer, faintly blue, like frozen lightning. Layla knelt, brushing away soot, and there it was, a small blade, shaped like no weapon she had ever seen. Its edge was translucent, pulsing faintly as if alive. The moment her fingers touched it, whispers filled the air, soft, melodic, ancient. The forge around her flickered with blue light, and a vision flashed before her eyes. Amina, standing in the same place, her face lit by that very glow. She had been crying as she sealed the blade into the earth, her hands trembling. Then came Ibrahim, older, weary, hammering the last stone over it. His voice echoed faintly. Asterisk, "Forgive me, Amina. This is the only way." Asterisk, the vision faded, and Layla found herself gasping for air. The blade hummed in her hand, almost weightless. Outside, thunder rumbled. The river was awake again. Driven by something beyond fear, Layla ran toward the sound of the water. The wind howled, carrying whispers and cries. By the time she reached the pond, the storm had already broken loose. Waves crashed against the banks, though there was no sea nearby. The air shimmered with ghostly light. "Amina!" she shouted into the chaos. "I found it. Tell me what to do." From the water, a shape emerged, tall, luminous, and bound in ribbons of flowing mist. It was Amina, but changed, her beauty sharper, her presence colder, her eyes burning like stars. "You should not have come," she said. "The river will not let me go. It will not let you go either." Layla raised the blade, trembling. "Then maybe I can make it listen." The river roared as if in fury. The water lashed out in tendrils, wrapping around Amina's arms, dragging her down. She fought it, screaming in defiance, her voice echoing through the forest. "Do it now, Layla, before it takes me completely." Layla hesitated. The blade in her hand burned brighter, the whispers turning into cries. She felt her mind flooding with Amina's memories, her love, her pain, the night she gave herself to the river. She saw the first husband's betrayal, his cruelty, the way he tried to drown her. She saw the river saving her, but at a cost that never stopped claiming more. Tears streamed down Layla's face. "I can't." "You must." Amina cried, her form flickering between light and water. "Free me before it's too late." Layla raised the blade high. The storm screamed around her, the trees bowing under unseen pressure. She could feel the river's will pressing against her chest, urging her to stop. The water surged upward like a beast, jaws of liquid light, snapping toward her. She swung the blade. A flash of blinding blue tore through the night, a sound like the sky itself cracking open. For a heartbeat, everything stopped. The river froze mid-motion, the air heavy and silent. Then a pulse rippled outward, and Amina's voice filled the world, a long, haunting sigh of release. The light faded slowly. The river calmed, its waters turning clear for the first time in years. Layla fell to her knees, the blade slipping from her grasp, now dull and lifeless. But as she looked into the pond, her reflection wavered. It wasn't just her face staring back. It was Amina's, smiling faintly through the surface. Layla's heart stuttered. Amina? The reflection blinked. Not as an echo, but as something alive. The river keeps its promises. Amina's voice whispered, soft and close, but always takes what it is owed. And before Layla could move, the water around her began to glow again, warm and alive, curling around her wrists like silk. The wind whispered her name, pulling her closer to the surface that shimmered like a mirror between worlds, and then the water coiled around Layla's wrists, first gentle, then firm, until she could feel her pulse merging with the rhythm of the river. The night was silent now, no wind, no crickets, no whisper trees, only the steady, soft hum of the current. It sounded almost like breathing. Her reflection rippled, and for a moment she saw not herself, but Amina, luminous beneath the surface, her hair floating like a crown of darkness, her eyes ancient yet kind. "You freed me," Amina whispered, "but in doing so you have bound yourself." Layla shook her head, tears glistening on her cheeks. "No, you said I could stop this." Amina's smile was both sorrow and pride. "You did. The curse is broken, but its keeper must remain. The river cannot exist without a heart to guide it. That is the balance of things." Layla tried to pull back, but the water's hold only deepened. It wasn't violent. It was almost tender, like hands drawing her into an embrace. "I don't want this," she whispered. "I didn't either," Amina replied softly. "But we do not choose destiny. It chooses us. You have my blood. The river knows your name." Layla's heart raced. The water rose higher, curling around her arms, her chest. "Then take me instead," she cried. "Take me, but let her go. Let Amina rest." Amina's eyes shimmered, and for the first time, tears fell from within the water itself. "That is what you are doing, child." Layla opened her mouth to speak, but the river surged. Its light enveloped her completely, silver, blue, and violet swirling like galaxies. She gasped as her body felt weightless, her thoughts dissolving into echoes and light. And then silence. The next morning, the villagers woke to a strange calm. The sky was painted gold and lavender, the river so clear they could see every pebble beneath its surface. The air felt new, as if the earth had exhaled after holding its breath for centuries. But Layla was gone. The villagers searched for days. They found her footprints near the riverbank and a faint shimmer in the water where she'd last stood. The old women murmured prayers. The men built fires along the shore, hoping the warmth would call her back. None dared enter the water. Only the grandmother seemed to understand. She would sit by the edge of the pond each evening, whispering softly to the current. Sometimes, when the wind was still, she swore she could hear Layla's voice, calm, gentle, and strangely content. Weeks turned into months. The river no longer flooded. The crops grew thick and strong. The children played by the banks again, unafraid. And the legend of the two women of the river began to spread beyond Amma, whispered by travelers, written in songs, carried across valleys like a secret too beautiful to stay hidden. But one night, under a rare blue moon, something extraordinary happened. The blacksmith's forge, long abandoned, burst into light. The villagers gathered, fearful yet fascinated. When they arrived, they found the door open, the air warm and humming with power. On the anvil lay the same blade Layla had used, the one said to be forged by the river itself. It now shimmered faintly, pulsing like a living heart. And beside it, etched into the metal, were two names, Amina and Layla. The village chief ordered the forge to be sealed again, fearing the curse's return. But no one dared touch the blade. It stayed there, resting quietly as though waiting. Years passed. The story became a myth. Children grew up hearing the tale of the river's bride, a woman so powerful that even the elements bowed to her will. Some said she still appeared during storms, her silhouette visible in the lightning, watching over the land she once called home. But deep beneath the surface, far beyond where sunlight could reach, Layla and Amina drifted in a world of shimmering stillness. The river had no bottom there, only endless light. Amina stood beside her, no longer bound by pain or sorrow. Her form was human again, her face serene. "You have done what I could not," she said. "You ended the hunger." Layla gazed at her hands, now glowing softly. "And yeah, I can feel it all. Every drop, every current, every whisper of life that passes through. It's as if the world speaks through me. That is what it means to be the river." Amina said gently, "You are not trapped, Layla. You are part of it. You are its song." Layla smiled faintly. "Then tell me, do you regret it? Give your soul to it?" Amina looked upward, with a surface shimmer like glass high above. "I regret nothing that led to peace. Even pain, when faced with courage, becomes light." And for a while there was silence, but not empty silence. It was filled with the sound of flowing water, soft and eternal. Then Amina turned to her. "One day, the river will call another. It is the way of balance. When that time comes, guide her gently. Do not let her face what we face alone." Layla nodded. "I will." Amina's body began to dissolve into mist and silver sparkles, merging slowly with the light. "My time here is over," she said with a smile. "You are the river now." Layla reached out, but her hand passed through her like smoke. "Will I ever see you again?" Amina's voice was already fading. "Every time the wind touches the water, that will be me." And then she was gone. Layla stood alone in the glowing expanse, surrounded by flowing light. She could feel the pulse of every raindrop, every stream that joined the great river. She could hear songs of birds, laughter of children, the prayers of farmers who thanked the river for their crops. She was everywhere, unseen yet always present. Above, the moonlight pierced the surface, sending a single beam down to where she stood. It illuminated her like a crown of stars. She raised her hands, and the river shimmered, calm, endless, and alive. Back in Nyama, generations passed. The curse became legend, then fable, then sacred tale. The villagers built a shrine by the water, with carvings of two women holding hands, one of flesh, one of water. Travelers came from far lands to touch the river, believing it could heal heartbreak and cleanse sorrow. They said that on certain nights, when the moon was silver and full, two voices could be heard singing softly, one deep, the other light, weaving through the wind and water like an eternal lullaby. The elders always told the same thing to those who asked what the song meant. It is the river remembering. And though no one ever saw her again, strange things began to happen whenever someone cried by the banks. The water would ripple, and a faint warmth would rise, soothing their pain. Fishermen said the fish no longer fled. Instead, they gathered near the singing currents. The river had become something new, not feared, not worshipped, but loved. Centuries later, when the land had changed and the stories had become mere whispers in books, an archaeologist named Dr. El-Fadil came upon the ruins of the old forge. She uncovered the ancient blade, still shimmering faintly, untouched by time. Etched upon its surface were now three names, Amina, Layla, and a third she could not read. She took it to the water's edge to clean it, and as the blade touched the river, the surface glowed once more. The wind hushed, the current stopped, and from the stillness, a woman's voice whispered, soft, loving, infinite, "Another has come." Zara dropped the blade, heart pounding. The reflection in the water was not her own. A woman with eyes like liquid silver smiled back at her. The voice spoke again, gentle as a mother's lullaby. "Do not fear. Every ending is only another ripple. The river remembers and the story flows on." The reflection reached upward, touching Zara's hand to the surface. The moment their fingers met, the river came alive, brilliant and endless, like liquid light racing through every vein of the world. The villagers nearby heard the water's song that night, a haunting, magnificent melody that wrapped around their dreams and hearts. Some said they saw three silhouettes dancing upon the river, glowing like spirits made of moonlight. Others swore they saw nothing, only felt an overwhelming peace, as if the earth itself had been washed clean of sorrow. And when morning came, the water was still, the sky brighter than ever before. The blade was gone, but the river, it shimmered as though it smiled. It became a sanctuary, a place where the broken came to heal, where lovers made vows, and where silence spoke louder than words. The villager said that if you stood quietly at its edge and closed your eyes, you would feel a pulse beneath your feet, a heartbeat that belonged not to the earth, but to her. The river was alive. It was eternal. It was Layla, and though centuries might pass, the river would never forget. It would sing its song under the moon, guarding its secret, whispering the same words that began it all, a promise between love, power, and sacrifice. Asterisk, what is given in love is never truly lost. It simply flows forever. Asterisk,